In November of 2003, I was invited to participate in the first trade mission hosted by the United States Madagascar Business Council. And during the week that I was there, I had a chance to meet with a number of government officials and business leaders and education leaders. My fundamental message to this group was that if Madagascar was interested in developing its people and rising above poverty, it was important to invest in its most precious resource, its people. Well, at the end of the week, I was invited into a meeting with President Mark Ravalomanana. During that meeting, the president asked me about my university. After giving him some basic facts, I then said, "Mr. President, I represent a university that's looking for some of the brightest young men and women you have in this country who want to come to the United States and receive a Christian education and then return to be leaders in their own country." Well, he leaned forward and with an intense look in his eye said, "That's what I want. I want to send 22 students to your university." About 3 months later, I returned to arrange the financing for the program. And after negotiations with the World Bank and representatives of the Madagascar government, we created the Madagascar Presidential Scholars Program. In May, we advertised on national radio and television and in the newspapers in 3 different languages, Malagasy, French, and English. Within 30 days, we had over 1,000 completed applications from all over that island. We had a team of about 4 people who narrowed those down to 75 students. Some lived in such remote parts of that country that they received the message via an announcement on the national radio. We sent a team of 3 people over who spent 2 weeks testing and interviewing these 75 students. And by the end of June, we had our finalists. I went back in July, and when I arrived in the country, I received a message that the president wanted to meet again. He told me that he wanted to talk to the students, and so we arranged for the students to come to the presidential palace. He told the students what he expected. He expected them to be proud of their country. He expected them to come to the United States and work very hard. He told them most of all, though, that they were not coming just for themselves. They were coming to represent their nation, and their purpose was to come back a changed people, ready to change their nation.
Ellen and I traveled with Tim Johnston to Antananarivo, and we interviewed 75 students and then had the task of narrowing it down to 22. They come from families that have been able to afford to keep them in school all the way through high school, and that's unusual in Madagascar. I suppose a typical student in this group, at least, is a young person who is very respectful, who is attentive, who is eager to learn. They just soak up information and knowledge like a sponge.
In the interview process, we had it set up to where Ted was asking the questions, and then Ellen was listening, and I was listening, as well as Ted, and making an assessment. So we had 3 different people making an assessment as to how well was this person answering the question. We wanted to get a sense for their global perspective, their ability to really understand what they're getting into. Have you ever traveled outside of your country before? Now, the majority of the students had never traveled outside of their country. And so most of the time the answer is a clear no. But the ones with the optimism, the ones with the adventurous spirit that we were looking for, they would answer, not yet.
What impressed me the most was really their courage to leave their country and come to the United States with an open mind to learn and to make this a very productive 4 years.
Madagascar has a potential of being a prosperous country. What we're trying to do right now is to train people to be able to manage well this country. With the leadership of the president, Mark Ravalmanana, we're trying to get back in track. But we need a lot of well-trained people to do that.
For the country really to survive in the global economy, they need to meet the level of technology needed for the economic growth. This can be done only if we have a good and a very, very high level of higher education. It's a matter of survival.
If I were to give an advice to a Malagasy student, I would tell them to develop their character, to be upfront, and to be able to speak their mind, and most of all, to brush up on their English. To be fluent, not really to be fluent as an American, but to be able to understand and to be understood.
When I left Madagascar, my parents told me to be careful, like all parents say to their children when they left home, and then never forget to pray.
When my parents learned that I've been chosen, my mom was she was happy, but in the other hand, she was sad because she thinks that I'm too young to leave, and my dad felt really proud, and he said that he's proud of me because I listened to him. I realized that education is important, and I'm ready to make the sacrifice to leave them just for education.
In many cases, when Ellen and I have been talking with parents in another country, they have said to us toward the end of our conversation, please take care of my son. Treat him as your own son. For example, in some of the families of the Malagasy students, they have written back to Ellen and said, thank you for being our daughter's parents in Abilene. They want somebody who will become surrogate parents, so to speak.
Tamin'ny voalohany zany nanana fatahorana sy fanahina be ihany. Vao naheran'ilay izy hoe tafita amin'le fahazahoana an'le vatsim-pianarana makany ivelany io, satria tena lavitra dia lavitra mihitsy aloha ilay toerana. Dia kanefa no tafarisaka tamin'ilay Mr. Presley sy ny vadiny dia nanome ohatrany hoe nahazo fanantenana be zany, satria tena nazavainy tsara zany hoe takizao ny fomba hitondrana ny ankizy, ny hoe fandraisany an'le fiainana vaovao any zany, satria dia tena samy hafa mihitsy amin'ny fiainana eto Madagasikara zany ny iainany ihany, ny zavatra hitany ihany. Dia nanome toky tsara zany zareo hoe karakarainy tsara ny zavakareo, dia lasa misinda ho azy zany le fatahorana sy fanahina tamin'ny voalohany.
People here in Abilene made me feel at home. They really help and want to be close to you, want to know about you, and that's just nice and kind from them to do that, to be such involved in our life, and they really help us to be at home. And I think Abilene can be my home.
I'm very happy to know that my son will receive education from a Christian university. That is out of my dream before. That was out of my dream before. But when this happy event happens, I believed I was sure it was a good decision. It is a grace from God.
He's myself. So everybody has a vision, and for me also, you cannot do anything without the blessing from God. And I'm Christian. That's why I chose them to go to this Christian university. And you see, the one who gave the power and the honor of the power is God. So it's so important that we follow the rule. We have to review our life with God.